place, painting the same picture that Ripple has been trying to paint to us for years now. And this is something that is so important to focus on if you hold XRP. It's something to focus on even if you don't hold XRP, because we are witnessing the entire financial system change. This is going to be one of the largest transformations in history, where everything around us just completely gets disrupted by this tech. We start to see everything moving on chain, and digitalization of every single process around finance is going to happen. Now, if we think about this, one company from the space has been talking about cross-border payments specifically for years. That's Ripple. Ripple has been talking about disrupting cross-border payments before it was even a big thing. If you think about how long the internet of value has been pushed from Ripple, and now we're watching all of these puzzle pieces falling into place, it's very hard not to come to the conclusion that Ripple and XRP are going to revolutionize the way that $156 trillion industry works. And by the way, within the next year and like 4 months, it's expected to grow from 156 trillion to $250 trillion. Think about how crazy that is. $250 trillion. Now, I bring all of this up because on September 5th, Paul Atkins put out a post. I'm pleased to announce the formation of the Cross-Border Task Force. This new task force will consolidate SEC investigative efforts and allow the SEC to use every available tool to combat transnational fraud. Now, the thing about this is that this is great to see, right? We are witnessing a major change happening around cross-border payments. They're going to be focusing on pump and dumps and ramp and dump schemes. So they're going to solve a lot of the issues around cross-border payments specifically. But on top of that, we're going to start to see more third-party players being tapped in around this market. We are going to really see a major change happen around specific pieces of finance. It's not just cross-border payments, but it's almost everything that we know of. Stocks, for an example, are now moving on chain in a rapid way. But this is a big update because this is showing us that the SEC is now locked in on cross-border payments. And what's crazier about all of this is we just go back a couple more days ago. Federal Reserve announces October 21st, 2025, Payments Innovation Conference to explore evolving landscape of money and payments. This is regarding stablecoins, tokenization, artificial intelligence. It's crazy to see all of this aligning. I know that a lot of you can see it, right? I mean, you don't just get a big update like this around cross-border payments and cross-border transactions on, a day where we also saw just a couple, like 48 hours prior, the Fed announcing that October 21st Payments Innovation Conference will explore the evolving landscape of money and payments, including tokenization, stablecoins, and AI. Like, all of this is happening in just days apart. And then we also go back to July 17th, where Brad Garlinghouse celebrated Genius Act getting passed, and he said the last major financial regulation bill was passed 15 years ago in response to the 2008 financial crisis. Tomorrow, the signing of the Genius Act cements the U.S.'s future in being a leader in truly innovative financial technology, stablecoins. This moment is a historic one, and I for sure am looking forward to all that is to come as a result of this transformational legislation. Now, again, this was a very significant bill that got signed into place, but remember that this all ties back to stablecoins, right? Cross-border payments. Cross-border payments are being revolutionized by stablecoins. Even Ripple recently put out a post on September 3rd. By the way, same day that we got the announcement from the Fed regarding payments. Interesting. By 2030, 10% of global assets are expected to be tokenized. To seize this opportunity, institutions need a foundation of trust. Discover how Ripple Custody delivers enterprise-grade security and the infrastructure for safeguarding or safekeeping of private keys, stablecoin issuance, on-chain governance, and compliance. Now, when we go into this, we have 3 use cases driving institutional adoption: digital asset custody in action. Now, they do talk about just custody itself a little bit. But then down here we have institutions are seeking a digital asset custody solution that delivers the same robust services and protections they've long relied on for traditional assets: impenetrable security, seamless trading access, and comprehensive risk management capabilities. We also have the 10% of the world's assets expected to be tokenized by 2030. We are witnessing the construction of today's financial infrastructure. And again, this is so important to understand. We are witnessing the construction of today's financial infrastructure. This is coming from Ripple themselves. The banks that are establishing robust crypto custody frameworks now are the first to market digital asset services, while those that wait are left playing catch up. Again, because this is just the beginning. Now, here are the foundations, right? Core safekeeping. Again, we pretty much already know that this is just, really the security side of things. So we need to make sure that this is all fully secure. Well, we already see that with Ripple Custody. I mean, we have down here, institutions need a system designed for security, scalability, and compliance. That's where Ripple Custody comes in, delivering bank-grade infrastructure, robust compliance frameworks, high reliability, and flexible deployment options, including software as a service and on-premise as well. So they could choose which one they want, software as a service or just on-premise. And then also they do just talk about the core safekeeping might not capture headlines, but breaches and losses certainly do. So we need to make sure that we do solve this. And then we have the expansion, stablecoin issuance. So financial institutions are increasingly looking to issue stablecoins or manage significant reserves as part of their payments, remittance, and collateral operations. But this requires more than just speed and efficiency. It requires institutional grade custody that banks can stake their reputation on. Stablecoin innovation is only as strong as the security infrastructure that backs it. So when we think about this, right, we go down here. So Ripple Custody offers customers the ability to mint, burn, and manage stablecoins, seamlessly integrated with the XRP ledger or any EVM compatible blockchain. This isn't just custody, it's complete lifecycle management for stablecoins as digital payment instruments to enhance cross-border payment efficiency, reduce settlement time, support collateralized financial use cases, unlock new revenue streams through issuance and transaction fees. This capability supports banks in meeting the growing demand for faster, more reliable digital payment options. Real-world deployment is already underway with, for an example, Forge issuing its euro-backed stablecoin USV on the XRP ledger using Ripple Custody, while BDAX in South Korea custodies Ripple USD, ROUSD, Ripple's stablecoin designed to support institutional payment options. But again, the fact that we have the XRP ledger being spotlighted here around stablecoins, making sure that everything is tied back to the XRP ledger or any EVM compatible blockchain. Obviously, it could be any of them, but XRP being named here is a very big +1, especially even around tokenization use cases. But it's not just custody, right? Like, this is everything that these institutional players need, and this is targeting the cross-border payment market still. This is still the focus of Ripple's. And again, stablecoins are a big key driver of enhancing cross-border payments. And then we also have the orchestration engine, governance. Beyond safekeeping and payments lies a transformation that touches every aspect of digital asset management, the modernization of back office operations and compliance powered by blockchain technology. Back office operations are often slow, fragmented, and manual. Settlements can take days. Reconciliations demand heavy manual oversight, and reporting lags market reality. These limitations create operational inefficiencies and competitive disadvantages for institutions operating in fast-moving capital markets. As tokenization of financial assets expands, institutions can dramatically simplify their value chains with blockchain technology, replacing complex, fragmented systems with unified automated processes that operate continuously. And again, Ripple Custody enables this transformation by serving as a comprehensive orchestration platform that integrates with both public and private blockchains. And again, if we're thinking about what's happening here, everything can be tied into this. Distributed ledgers, core banking systems, all of them to automate critical processes, settlements, reconciliations, reporting, while maintaining the highest security and compliance standards. So when we were thinking about what's happening here, what Ripple is building here is essentially the new system. That's why when we go back up here, we could see that This is the beginning. This is the construction of the new financial system. Guys, this is a very big statement that we need to focus on. And if we're thinking about this, this all goes back to cross-border payments. Here we have cross-border payments in real time using stablecoins and crypto. Because again, stablecoins are solving the cross-border payment inefficiencies that we've talked about for years now. Ripple has spotlighted for years as well. Now, we also know that Ripple was working on cross-border payments before it was cool. Lock in. Big shout out to Digital Asset Investor for this. This is Edward Fishman, former State Department official. Check this out.
I do believe we are on the precipice of a big change in terms of how cross-border payments work. Because my own view is, when there are new technologies that clearly improve the status quo, it's hard to restrain them indefinitely, right? And if you can clear a cross-border payment in seconds as opposed to 2 weeks, we should probably do the thing that allows that payment to happen in seconds, right? So my own view in terms of stablecoins is it seems like, unless there's a big political shift in the US, we are really putting all the eggs in the stablecoin basket. We're not doing even a wholesale central bank digital currency. And even if there's a new president in 2029 who does authorizes the Fed to do a digital dollar, it might be too late at that point, right? Given how fast some of these, alternatives coming out of China are developing. So my own view is, if I were, to wave a magic wand, I would say we need to figure out a way to ensure that a well-regulated stablecoin ecosystem develops, one that is not used for corrupt practices, is not used for illicit practices, where American consumers are protected, where it's not, they're not going to lose their money, because of some sort of, scam or something like that. And critically, that there are these AML KYC requirements so that they're not being used as a way to skirt sanctions. My own view is that's possible, right? You could build a stablecoin ecosystem where the U.S. has zero less power than they do today to impose sanctions, and that would be good, right? Because I think ultimately you get the benefits without having the costs, with the dollar being used for to fund Iran's nuclear program or finance Putin's imperialism, right?
And yeah, I mean, listen, this is a very crucial thing to focus on as well. When we think about what Ripple is offering here, even within the custody breakdown over here, they did say that with Ripple custody, everything is fully compliant. KYC, AML, all of that is built into this. So institutional players are ready to go to market immediately once they tap into this. They don't have to wait. They don't have to worry about compliance or regulations. No, it's fully already tapped in. This is that all-in-one package that's already, greenlit out of the gate. Now, on top of this, we think about the BIS, because remember that the cross-border payments market, this is the CPMI group, right? This is the Cross-Border Payments Interoperability and Extension Task Force, the CPMI. This got announced on July 8th, 2024 from the BIS. This is the chair of this is the European Central Bank Director of General Markets, Infrastructure, and Payments. But Ripple is a named player on this, working with SWIFT, the clearinghouse, the Bank of China, Commonwealth Bank of Australia, Deutsche Bank, Mercado Pago. I mean, guys, these are very big names around payments. And Ripple is just a, company tied back to this. Just a blockchain company. Nothing serious, right? This is a CPMI group that's, spearheaded by the central bank of central banks. This is why when we think about these connections, when we think about, where Ripple is and the aura around Ripple, it's very simple to come to the conclusion that, guess what? Ripple is in a completely different range when it comes to these connections, the networking that they've been doing, and they're completely on a different level. This is why we think about Ripple building out the new financial system, like what Ripple is doing here with blockchain, with XRP and the XRPL, with RLUSD, everything that they have been utilizing and building and launching for the last couple of years, for the last 10 plus years, is all building up to that one big boom event, which is the new financial system launching. And guess what? We're witnessing it in real time. There's no more speculating on, oh yeah, I think a new financial system is on its way. No, stablecoins are being embraced. Governments are now talking about utilizing stablecoins as a financial weapon. We now have banks tapping into public blockchains. Tokenization is now surging. The stock market's moving on chain. Ondo's launching, the stock market 2.0. Guys, this is no longer a story of, oh, I wonder if this is happening. No, it's happening now. And Ripple is a big player behind all of it. Now we also have over here from Smoke Dog, Bank of International Settlements, emphasizing that a third-party currency with sufficient liquidity is essential for efficient cross-border payments. This aligns perfectly with XRP's role in Ripple's model as an independent and neutral bridge asset that removes dependence on fragmented correspondent banking. The BIS is effectively outlining the very problem XRP was built to solve. Listen closely. Check this out, guys.
With all that in mind, how do we deal with this issue of exchange rates and interoperability? How do we get these digital currencies to really just talk to each other?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think when we talk about interoperability, we can see it at least in 3 different levels. So the first level is how we manage domestic interoperability. So how we generate this digital currency solution and make this speak with the other things that are out there in a little bit in the idea of generating a platform so that everyone can connect to that platform and take advantage of the huge network externalities that we can get out of there. The second level is how do we manage cross-border transactions, even within the same currency. And that presents a certain level of challenges there. But when we talk about cross-currency and cross-border, then we face a completely difficult and different environment. And we can see 3 dimensions here. One is the technical dimension, so how we manage to get a system that speaks in a certain cryptographic language to speak with another that speaks another slightly different language. So that is one level of complexity. We need to get the technologies to speak to each other. The messaging element is fundamental. The second dimension, which is much more complicated to solve, so that one, the first one was the easy one, okay? And there is a lot of money that is being put in terms of trying to solve these technical issues of interoperability. Now, the second one is more complicated. It has to do with liquidity. So imagine that you have a pair of currencies for which there is not a complementary demand. You need to go and search for a third-party currency in order to make this settlement actually happen. And this really complicates things. So we need to put pieces of technology that can make more efficiency this use of liquidity so that more transactions can be settled. The third dimension, which is even more difficult than the previous one, is how do we manage to get homogeneity in terms of the policy requirements on different countries. And this becomes even more complicated when we think about, for example, AML-CFT and principles-based policies, and when we think about risk-based policies. We can code things that are very clearly stated, but when we're talking about principles-based regulation, this thing becomes really complicated, especially in an environment, as Tom said, in which 110 nations might have 110 different ways of looking at this. So we need work in these 3 dimensions: technology, liquidity, and also, and more importantly, probably in the policy side of things. Think about AML-CFT, but also think about privacy. Different countries have very different views on this, no?
And when we think about this, right, he's talking about how complicated this all is and how, there's so many pieces tied to this. Well, that's exactly what Ripple is solving. Ripple is trying to solve all of these issues by having this all-in-one package that, you no longer have to worry about, I need a custody provider, and then, I need to tap into a stable coin, and, we need a tokenization engine. We need something that, we can tap into around a tokenization market as well. So we need a permission DEX, and we need all of these things. Guys, every single thing that an institutional player needs, any player, around the digital economy, the internet of value, if you will, Ripple has it. It's the number one reason why we keep seeing things added to the XRP ledger. It's strategic things being added too. A permission DEX, credentials, DID. All of these things, all of these amendments are core pieces to the XRP ledger that enable these players to tap in a compliant way. The permission DEX, for an example, allows institutional players to build out specific markets and use cases on the XRP ledger. Because Ripple has been spearheading institutional DeFi onto the XRP ledger and onto XRP for years now. This is all a build in progress. When I say that these things are taking some time, yeah, it's because we are witnessing the construction of today's financial infrastructure. This is the new financial system. This is coming from Ripple themselves, a direct quote from Ripple. 10% of the world's assets are expected to be tokenized in the next 5 years. What does that sound like? Does that sound like, oh yeah, this is just all hype and speculation? No, this sounds as if we are about to witness the entire world moving on chain, and this is going to be the new financial system. And Ripple, a blockchain-based company, for well over 10 plus years, has been telling us the plan all along. They have been working with 300 plus financial institutional players. Now it's up to 500 plus. We don't know the specific number, but we can clearly see that Ripple and XRP are a much larger piece of the puzzle than we ever thought before. Some would say, and even I would say, that Ripple is building out a new financial system here. Ripple custody and what Ripple is bringing to the table is truly something special. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.